Hi, this is Sean. Welcome to Guitar Reference Guide. Today's lesson I'm going to be taking you through the classic, The Girl From Ipanema. This is hands down the most popular bossa nova tune of all time. A couple versions of this tune. The most popular one, I think most people play this tune in F. I like the version that's in D flat. What are you going to learn in this lesson? I'm going to teach you how to play a basic bossa nova rhythm. I'm going to teach you the chords, I'm going to teach you the head, and when I go through this part of the tune, it's going to go pretty quick. I'm going to have the notation on the screen that's going to make it really easy to follow. Then we're going to kick into improvising over the tune. I'm going to break it down harmonically for you. We're going to do an analysis of the tune. I'm going to show you different scales that you can use, arpeggios, and different ways of following the key changes. The B section has a lot of key changes, but if you know how they move, it's really not that bad. I created a PDF for this lesson. It's at my website. If you click the link below, it'll take you to my site. As well as a PDF, I have a jam track that you can play along with. Thanks so much for visiting me at Guitar Reference Guide, and let's dig in. Okay, so for the first part of the lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to play a basic bossa nova rhythm. So if you look at the notation above, you're going to see the D flat 6/9 chord, and the rhythm here is going to sound like this if I was to count it out. 1 and 2 E and so you got to get that 16th. It's going to go 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and then you just stay on that all the way to the end of the progression. Now, to add on to that, we're going to add another 16th note on the and. This is a little more sophisticated, but it's also going to make it sound a little hipper, and that's going to sound something like this. 1, so here we go. 1 and 2 E and on that and you got to get it. 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and 1 and. Now, the tricky thing about this is on the end of that 16th, you're grabbing that with the fingers. Then on the first beat, you're grabbing it with your thumb. 1 and 2 E and 1. 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and 1. Okay, so now that last 16th note, as I said, you come back into the 1. On that change, on that last 16th, you make the chord movement. In other words, you change a little early. 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and 1. There it is. There it is on the end. And 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and So that would be another way to spice up the bossa nova rhythm, is adding that and. But you don't have to do it all the time. You need to listen and figure out the best places to do that, but it generally works all the time. And that will be your basic bossa nova rhythm over the A section. Okay, now that you have a basic handle on the bossa nova rhythm, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use an alternating bass, which sounds really good. The only thing that's different is on the second beat, we're going to move to the 5th like this. So I'm going to move my second finger from the tonic to the 5th, which is going to be the A flat. Same thing here. Now I'm on the E flat 9, and the 5th is going to be my B flat. Moving over to my D, now I'm going to move to my minor 7. Same B flat note as the 5th. Now I'm going to move to the 5th here, which is going to be my A from the D, and then I'm back to my D flat. Now, if you were going to the G flat 13 instead, you could go play the G flat 13 like this. So here I'm playing like a bar chord 7, 4th fret. There's 1, 6, or sorry, 4, 6, 4, 5, 4, and 1. Those are my fret numbers. I'm putting my pinky down on the 6th fret of the B, and that's my 13. My 5th is here, so that would be like this. So now I'm hitting the 5th in the bass, which is going to be my E flat. Then I'm back to my D flat. And the second pass, we just stay on the D flat before we go to the B section. Now I'm going to play through the head for the A section, and I'm going to play it with the metronome at 75 beats per minute, and you're going to have the notation there to reference. I'm going to play through it 2 times, and I think playing it at this tempo and having the notation, that should be good enough to get you through this first part of the head. So here we go, 75 beats per minute. 1, 2, ready, play. One more time, here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. And that would be the head for the A section. Now I'm going to play the chords for the B section. I'm going to start with a D major 7, looks like this. Same comping, same rhythm. So here I'm playing my this is one of the classic D major 7. There's my 1, there's my 3, there's my 5, there's my major 7. Then I'm going to go to a G9. I love this voicing. So here I'm playing the 1 here, skipping the A string. There's my flat 7. There's my 9, and the B is my 3. Now I'm going to go to a D minor 9. And here I'm playing, this is my 1, my minor 3, my flat 7, and there's my 9. You can also do the alternating bass. Now I'm going to go to a B flat 9 chord. This is just like the G9, but because we don't have any open strings, it's a lot bigger stretch. So same notes. Here's my 1, here's my flat 7, here's my 9, and there's my 3. You can also play the 13, which is the G. That'll also work right there if you play the G, 3rd fret on the high E string. So I like the 9. Now we're going to go to E flat minor 9. So same voicing we were playing for D, but just up a half step. Now we're going to go to a B9. Same voicing as earlier, as the B flat, just up a half step. Now I'm going to play my F minor 7. I like playing it like this or like this. So if I play it like this, I'm going to be using, there's my 1, there's my minor 3, there's my flat 7, and there's my 3 again. Now I'm playing a B flat 7 flat 5 here. There's my 1, there's my flat 7, there's my 3, and there's my flat 5. Then I'm going to do the same thing down a whole step. And that is my E flat minor 7. And then I'm going to go to my A flat 7 flat 5. Same exact thing. And so those would be the chords for the B section. Okay, so now that you can play the head and the chords for the A section, we are going to do the melody for the B section. This is my favorite part of the tune Same deal, I'm going to put the metronome on, 75 beats per minute, and here we go. One, two, three, four. Okay, so now that you're able to play the head for the A section and the B section, you're able to comp the chords, you know how to play a bossa nova, you know how to play the basic rhythm for a bossa. The next thing that we're going to talk about is improvising over the tune. I'm going to make this really straightforward. The first thing we're going to start with is the A section. This is in the key of D flat. I looped just the first chords for the A section, and I'm going to play over it. The first thing that you're going to want to do is just know your D flat major scale. That's going to sound something like this. So that is the D flat major scale, and that is going to be the first tool we use to improvise. Now, instead of just aimlessly whacking at the scale when the chords are moving, I'm going to want you to keep track of the chords as they are moving. The goal here will be able to hit the root note of the chord that you will be changing to. For example, we have 2 bars of the D flat 6-9, and then it moves up to the E flat 9 chord. When it hits that E flat 9 chord, I want you to be on the E flat note on the first beat. Then it's going to go to, that's going to be the 2 chord. So it's going to be 1 to the 2 chord. Then it's going to, then this is a dominant chord. So you have one note that doesn't fit in the key, but that's okay for now. Then it's going to stay here and it's going to go to the minor 9, which is the actual 2 chord. You still have to hit that E flat. Now we're going to go to A flat 13 or A flat 7. So we're going to have to hit the A flat note. That is going to be my 5. And then we're back to my 1. And then we move up a half step to D6-9. Okay? So I'm going to be playing the scale, and as the chords are moving, the goal will be to hit the root note on the first beat of the change. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. D flat. Where's my E flat? There's the change right there. E flat again. Where's my A flat? There's my 5. Now I got to get back to my 1. And then I'm moving up to a D. That's not in the key. E flat again. A flat, 5. Back to my 1. Then I move up a half step to the D. So that D is not in the key of D flat. So here we would have to play something like this. So we're adding that note to the equation. So once you feel like you have a handle on being able to find those root notes, then you're going to start finding the modulations. In other words, moving to those notes that are out of key. So those 2 main notes are going to be G. When we hit the E flat 9 chord, that's actually a dominant chord. The 2 chord is typically a minor chord. Main difference here is you're going to have a G in that chord. Okay, so if we add a G to the Dorian scale or to the D flat scale, it's going to give us our E flat Mixolydian scale. It's going to look something like this. So right there, that note is not in the key. Other than that, we are all good except for when it moves up to the D. Now when it moves up to the D, moves up to D major. So the whole thing moves. But for right now, we're just going to use that one note. We're just going to move up to D, even though it's not in the key. So here we go. So now this is a little more sophisticated. We're going to hit the Mixolydian scale when we play the E flat 9 chord. And then when we get to the modulation, we're going to hit the D note. Here we go. There it is. There's the G. Sounds great. But we got to come back. There's my A flat. Now I'm going to move up to the D. There we go. Let's try this again. Mixolydian. Dorian. Then I'm back to my A flat, back to my 1. Okay, so that works really well. So step 1, just getting the key down, learning the scale. Step 2, knowing the notes so you can change with the chords as they're moving. And then step number 3, identifying the chords that are not in the key and those things that move out of key slightly. So that would be using scale. So here I'm essentially using my Ionian scale. Then I'm using an E flat Dorian scale. Then I'm using an E flat Mixolydian scale, sorry. I'm using an E flat Mixolydian scale for the 2 chord. Then I'm using an E flat Dorian scale, which is my 2. Then I'm using the A flat Mixolydian scale. Back to my Ionian, my 1. And there, when I get to this note, I could just play my D major scale. And then I'm back. So that is how I would tackle that for the scales. Now, I find the most effective way to play through changes is playing the chord tones, the arpeggios. In the beginning, that's kind of hard because you have to change with every chord, but that's a great goal because now you're hitting all the most important notes in each chord, and it's going to outline the harmony in a much better way. So first thing we're going to do is we're look at our D flat 6/9 chord, right? Now this chord, you hear a lot of people use this as a substitution for a major 7 chord. So if I play the major 7 arpeggio, that's going to work great. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, or 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. Now, if I'm playing a 6/9, the arpeggio is basically going to be, I'm going to have my 1, I'm going to have my 3, I'm going to have my 5, I'm going to have my 6, and I'm going to have my 9. So that works extremely well because those are the notes that are in the chord. Then I move to the 9. Now the 9, the E flat 9, is an extension onto an E flat 7. So first thing to do would be learn your dominant 7 arpeggio, which is 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. And then you would just add a 9 to it. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 1. So you're just adding that 9 before you hit the 1. And then I would have my E flat minor 9. It's going to be the same thing. Learn your minor 7 first. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. Now I'm going to go 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 1. Now I'm going to go to my A flat 7, which is going to be 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. And then I'm back to the D flat. And that would be using chord tones, and that is extremely effective. So I'm going to give that a go right now. Here we go. Chord tones only. So now you use the chord tones with the scales, and now you're going to start to have a lot more tools to outline those chords as they're moving by. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the B section. So for the B section, it starts by modulating to the key of D, and the first two chords we're going to have our D major 7, and then we're going to have our G9. And that's going to be my 1 and my 4. So that's going to stay in key. I'm going to do a quick loop now. G9. Look at that as being my 4. Okay, so once again, D major scale. Now, when we get to the G9, typically the 4 chord would be a major 7 chord, but here we're playing a dominant chord. So once again, we have that relationship where it's still the 4 chord, but it's a dominant chord versus a major 7 chord. So for right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to stay in the major, and when we get to the G, we're just going to start on the G note. That's going to sound like this. D major. One more time. So that works okay. What's going to work better is if we look at the G9 chord as being our dominant chord, and we're going to look at that and we're going to play a Mixolydian scale over that. So that's going to look something like this. Even though I'm playing a 9 chord, 9 chord is an extension on top of a 7 chord. So they're both dominant chords. So my G Mixolydian scale would look something like this. It is just like a major scale with a flatted 7th. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, flat. So as you can see, that note right there, that note is not in the key of D. And then this is kind of where we have that difference, that slight modulation. So now if I use my D major scale, and then when it gets to the G, I jump to a G Mixolydian scale, that's going to work a little bit better. The other way works too. Here we go. Again. Another thing you can do that works really well over the Lydian scale there would be, or over the 4, would be playing a Lydian flat 7 scale. So now this is going to give us kind of the best of both worlds. It's going to give us part of a Lydian scale, but it's going to add the flat 7, and that will be the best solution when you hit this chord. And that's going to sound something like this. Lydian flat 7 looks like this. So it's just like a Lydian scale, but with a flat 7. There's my 7. We're going to flatten that. So it's going to look like this. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. All right, so as you can tell, that worked fantastic. Now we're going to move on to the next part of the tune, which is going to move up to a D minor 9, and then a B flat 9. So I would recommend looking at this as being in the key of C now. So this would be my 2 chord, and then this would be my flat 7. Now a lot of people look at this in different ways, but this is personally how I like to look at it. So here we go. Flat 7. Okay, so there I was playing a Dorian scale for the D, which is just a C major scale, starting and ending on a D. And then when I went to the B flat, once again I played the Mixolydian scale here, which would be... So that's another modulation. And then the other thing we can do once again is we can use the Lydian flat 7 scale here. And that'll work. Here we go. And then the same thing's going to happen again. Then we're going to move up, and it's going to move up to the key of, now we're going to do D flat to B. And then now we're moving back to the key of D flat, which is our original key. And we're going to do the same thing there. We're going to play E flat Dorian, which is the same as a D flat major scale, starting and ending on the 2. And we do that over the A section. And then when it gets to the B, start with B Mixolydian, and then we're going to go to B Lydian flat 7. And that sounds like this. Here we go. Let me see, did I do that? No, I didn't. Here we go. I'm going to loop that real quick, and then we'll do it. Ah, there we go. Okay. Lydian flat 7. Now we just have 2 2/5s. Now when we go here, it's going to be the same sort of thing. We're playing a 2. This would be a 2 in the key of E flat, my F minor 7, to my B flat 7 flat 5. And on this one is where I would use the Lydian flat 7 again. So you can see that this is just all over this tune. It's Lydian flat 7. Here we go. 1, 2, I'm going to loop that now. Go a little slower. So there, exactly the same thing. I'm playing both scales, playing the Dorian scale for F, and then the Lydian flat 7 scale for the B flat, and then the same thing for the 2 5 and D flat, which is where we started in the first part of the tune. And that flat 5 really, you can really hear that. Okay, so now we're going to look at the arpeggios for each one of these sections. Now, the beautiful thing about playing the arpeggios is if you get the arpeggios right, and you're able to execute, you know, the thirds, the fifths, the flat 7s, it's really going to imply the harmony, and it's going to go a long way. And when you're good at this, you don't even need to have a backing track because you're really implying the chord. So starting with the first part, we have D major 7, my 1, my 3, my 5, my 7, and my 1. My 3, my 5, my 7, and my 1. Now I'm going to go to my G9. Before you get down the 9, get down the regular dominant 7 first, and then just add the 9. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. Now we add the 9. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 1. Now we're going to move up to the D minor 9. So now I'm going to outline the D minor 7 here, and then the D minor 9 here. So there's my D minor 9. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. I'm going to add the 9 to it now. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 1. And that will be my minor 9 arpeggio for the D minor 9. Now, same deal applies for the B flat 9 chord. First learn your 7, same as the G7 that we played earlier, then you add the 9. So there's 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, add the 9, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 1. Then you just move that everything up a half step to the E flat. And then we're going to go to the B. And then now, 2, 5, and E flat, your standard minor 7 arpeggio here. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, or how we played it earlier. Then we have my B flat 7, flat 5. Now that you know your dominant 7 arpeggio, we can just add the flat 5 to that. 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7, 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7, 1. And then we're going to move down a whole step. Now that was the key of E flat, 2, 5, 2, 5, and D flat. Same deal here. Or just your regular dominant 7. That was 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7, 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7, 1. And then we're back to where we started. And that will be the arpeggios. So as you can hear, that works really well, and you're really outlining the chords, and you don't even need to play along with the backing track because you're really outlining the chords. The next thing we're going to talk about is targeting notes from the melody. Now, the most important thing is the melody. When you're improvising, you always want to be thinking about the melody. So let's take a look at the first part of the melody. What note is that? That's my 9. And then I'm going to my major 7, and then I'm going to my 6. So 9, major 7, 6. So when you're improvising over this chord, a great thing to do is think about those notes. That's going to go a long way. Now I go to the next part of the tune, which would be, and that's going to be over this part here will be coming over the minor 7, which will be when we hit this melody note. So the first part is 9, major 7 to 6. That's same thing over this chord. When we get to the E flat 9, we're still focusing on those notes, but now it changes. Now this is going to be the 1, this is going to be the 6, and this is going to be the 5 of this chord. There's my 1, there's my 6, there's my 5. Now we go to the minor 7, and then this would be my the flat 7 of E flat, the 5, the 4, and then this will be the 3rd of my A flat 13 or A flat 7 chord. And then I'm back to my back to the top of the tune. And then this will be my 1, flat 7 back to 1, and that's still going over the A flat. So that's a great approach to playing over the changes, is thinking about the notes that are coming out of the melody and using those as a reference point when you're improvising. Now that would be for the A section. For the B section, it's going to do a lot of the same stuff. The B section, here I have, that's my major 7. Then I'm ending on my 3rd of my G. Now it's going to change a little bit. This is my 9 of my D minor 9 chord. And then I'm hitting my 7, and that's the 3rd again, so that you could think of that as being 9 and 3, and then 9 and 3 again. And then the next part hits all the scale tones. And that will be improvising over the B section, thinking about the notes that come out of the melody, and that's a great way to reference the melody when you're improvising, just being aware of those notes and how they relate to the chords. So that would be improvising over the Girl from Ipanema. So I know that those are a lot of concepts and there's a lot of key changes in it. But try and think of the melody. It's always really, really important as you're improvising to be thinking of the melody as you are playing over the A section or the B section. Hands down, one of the most important things is forget about, in the beginning, forget about the modes and the scales and all the rest of that. I mean, you need to get to that. But as you are going through this, always have the melody in the back of your head. And if you can touch on some of those notes, that is going to bring the listener to a familiar place. Because even though you're improvising, they can kind of hear the tune. And that is hands down one of the most important things to do when you're trying to navigate through these changes. Thank you so much for visiting me at guitarreferenceguide.com, and I hope you have a great day.